ask, I do good work. They'll be like, oh, are you kidding me? Okay. So you could work at a grocery store, stocking shelves, whatever. You know, you're doing it to get somewhere in your life. So it's just smart to have another job. How do you find work is safe at a grocery store? Oh, you work in a grocery store. Yeah, I know that. Yes. Good. It's good work. Okay. Let's talk. Let's shift now to. But if you guys could post your dreams in Yammer, I would love to see them. Okay. At the end of the call. All right, great. So let's shift to Rooney. You have some things that you want to talk about. Where should we start? What do you think?
I don't know. The beginning is always a great place to start.
Tell us a story. Tell us of for people that don't know you. It's always a great way to tell a story before and after, before and what life is like now. So maybe start with before. Like before you even found Friends in Film, before you knew me, what was life like?
Life was all right. I had gotten like one day on a set by myself and I did not do a good job. So, I was like naive. I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't get asked back and I had like...
Oh, tell us more about that. That's always good.
Yeah, so...
Are you recording?
Yeah, I have it up on my phone. Let me just double check, but... Yeah, we're good. We're solid. So, I was working at a restaurant and I was bartending. I think I was like 23 or 24. And one of the patrons at the bar, we got to talking and he worked in the industry. He was a best boy in the electric department. So he's like the second in command in the electric department. And then his wife came and his wife was a costumer and we just started talking and I was like, that's my dream is to like get on set. And, we talked for a while. They were there for a while and he was like, you know what, take my number. I'm going to help you out. So I was like, awesome. So he talked to the key PA and that was on the first season of Kimmy Schmidt. So it was like a big show that I got on my first one. So yeah, they got me in for the day. It was a stage day. I had no idea what I was doing. On the stage, like things are a little bit more settled and they're not as crazy as like if you're out like on the streets. But yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I like pulled up a chair and sat down because I was like, I can't stand for this long. And then I wasn't like echoing when they were calling rolls and cuts, which is like important because other departments don't necessarily know when we're filming and when we're not. And yeah, and then I was like, oh, obviously they're gonna call me back. Like I did such a great job, and like no, they didn't, because like I didn't do anything. I wasn't helpful at all. So after that, pardon?
Nobody told you what to do. You didn't know what to do.
Nobody told me what to do. I feel like they just assumed that I knew, and I wasn't like confident enough to ask. I was like, oh, I'm smart. I can figure this out. But like that's not necessarily the case. Like I wish I asked questions. I wish that I like was confident in myself and like could do that. I just wasn't there yet because I was really good at bartending. I was great at my job. So I just assumed that like I was good at everything. So yeah, so I didn't.
You just didn't have the experience yet. That's why we don't want to get on big sets like this too early because that's your name that they will remember. Have you worked with any of those people since?
I have. I did not mention anything to him. He was the key PA on Kimmy Schmidt, and then he was the second AD on a show that I worked on last winter. Just a couple of days I day played on it, but I was like, oh, like, okay, like, I don't know if I should say something and be like, remember, but like, no, he's not going to remember me. Like, I was one additional PA one day. I'll never forget that experience, but like, for somebody else who has so many other PAs to worry about and like their own life, like they're not going to remember me just one day,
Well, I think it would be fun to tell them if you want to, because people love these stories where you're just like, I remember you, but you don't remember me, because it was one day I didn't know what I was doing. I thought that I should sit down. I was just like, I was so bad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you don't remember me. But I remember you. And I've got much better since then, right? Don't you think so?
Yeah, look at me now.
Look at me now.
But yeah, then I went back to bartending because I was like, I failed. I'll never get another job in the industry. Like, my name has been tarnished, like as if like I was the most important person in the world, And so I went back to bartending for a while, and then I was living in a house with people who like make their own films and stuff, so I started doing a little bit with them, and then that gave me the confidence to like start looking at some stuff like on Craigslist if like people needed help, because I had that incentive of like, okay, well, if it's like a home video, like an amateur, not professional set, like I think I can get some experience from that. And then like between that time and then like when I got my first like gig in film, I think I was maybe in Friends in Film for like a month. And I like figured out a really good way to network. And it just happened really quickly. Like after I joined Friends in Film, and just like the first couple modules, and just that like that starting point of like the willingness to do whatever it takes to do what's better for yourself, and like to get the life that you want. I think like that willingness just puts like a whole like shift in change of like, okay, like I'm going to do this. And if I'm going to like be doing this program and like have this be a huge part of my life, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to get what I want, out of life. And so, yeah, I dove into Friends in Film hard in like, was it November of 2017? And then, I did some networking. I actually like my dad's an accountant, and he has some clients in film, and like some clients he's like pretty close with that, work outside of the, like she does product placements and like clearancing for films. And I had a lunch with her, and she was like, you got it. Like, you have that, you're ready. And it's because I did so much, small stuff on the side through like Craigslist and my friends and stuff. So like I had that, like, I'm ready to help out. Like I'm willing to learn and like be open to learning, and not just think that I know everything, because I knew where that attitude got me from that Kimmy Schmidt, day. And
so you guys, nobody wants to help you until you've helped yourself, which is what's so great about the Get on Shoots method, which is what she did. It says getting on shoots. And then she meets with somebody that's a real industry professional, and she's like, yeah, I've been on all these shoots. I've been working my butt off. I've been learning stuff. I'm so excited. This is great. Like, I've been doing all this. And she's like, oh, you're a good one. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's also, we just talked, it wasn't like a formal interview or anything. Like, we went to lunch, and it was me, her, and her assistant, which was somebody probably around my age as well. Like, I think, I was 27 at the time. You look at me like aging myself here. So
welcome to
yeah, I just turned 30. I'm like, Jesus. You're like, things I've accomplished this year. I was like, turning 30, I don't know. Like, that's a big one.
I started the business when I was 27, 28.
It's good to hear, because I sometimes I feel a little behind, because I get on sets, and like the last set I was working on, there was a person who was 24, and that's when I had my first opportunity, and I blew it, and I was like, man, like and I said to her, I'm like, you're so lucky that like you get what you're doing, and like you're not afraid to ask for help. Like, she went to film school, so she's got some sort of like base in it, but film school and working on a set are two completely different things. You might learn how to work a camera and like write a script and get it from script to picture, but like actually the hustle and bustle that goes on set, like that can't be taught anywhere but set. So yeah, I just see these youngins on set, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you that like you figured this out at a young age. You're enthusiastic, you know what you want, like you're not afraid to ask questions. And like one of them, he was actually we have COVID PAs now on set, and he was a COVID PA on my last job. He like texted me recently, and he was like, hey, like, you know, it was great working with you. Just like wanted to, you know, put me on your radar if you know a show that needs additional PAs. And like, he's never really PA'd, but he was a COVID PA on set. So, and he was like in it. Like I could tell that he was paying so much attention, learning so many things, asking the right questions, like being really curious. And I was like, I want to help you out. Like, I want to help people like that out. Because I see people on set who just, they're on their phones. They're not paying attention. They don't answer their radio. And I'm just like, that's not somebody that I would recommend, because that doesn't make me look good, you know? And like, those are super, like, that's such an important trait to have, is just the curiosity and, you know, the attentiveness. And like, even this kid, the kid that texted me, the COVID PA, they're on a different radio channel, but when he would hear us say rolling, he would say it too. And I'm like, that's it. Like, that's how, you know, and it's scary. I remember the first couple times that you just have to yell rolling, and I was like, I'm nervous. But it's like, why am I nervous? I get to yell at my job. Like, that's a great, like, release of energy and, like, a, you know, that build up. But yeah.
This was very wonderful what you just described, because you just showed all of us what impresses somebody that makes them want to refer them and bring them in, you guys. So here's somebody like Lily, just worked as a COVID PA.
Yeah, COVID PAs are great.
We get in any way you can, guys. Remember, craft service, whatever. We don't even care. Any way you can, because you, with this get a factor that we're teaching you, that you're hearing about, they're like, oh, I have permission to talk to Stacey. Oh, I have permission to say rolling. I have permission to watch what's going on. I have permission to learn everything. And you should, and that will impress people. Now, with that newfound realization, then you just go do it. Then you get in. Then you get into that clan, people. So, yeah, you should. You just heard it from the master, the mentor right here. Very good. Okay, so now back to the meeting, because we went off on that.
I love tangents. I love tangents.
Yeah, me too.
The best things happen in tangents.
So true. So the meeting got you. Yeah, go ahead.
So like again, what I was saying before, it wasn't an interview by any means. It was just a lunch chat, and I was just being myself, you know. And I think that's what. And like, my dad helped her out a lot, so like, I'm sure. But if I, you know, had nothing in here, then she probably wouldn't have helped me out to the extent that she did.
What'd she do?
So I'm just trying to think of the order of things, because so she got me on set, like my number got to the key PA, and they brought me on set for a day, like the actual film set. And I had a pretty easy, I guess maybe it was known that I was a little bit newer to like big sets. And so I had like a pretty easy like lockup day. We were like shooting in a garage in New York City. And I was just like at the top of the garage, making sure that the guys who worked there were like sending cars away. Which is a fairly easy job, because I just have to tell somebody else already knew the job and had the authority to do it. And I was just like monitoring it, which is and I was away from the actual set. But while I was on lunch break, like during that one day, I got a call from the unit production manager being like, hey, we have a position for you full time as a prop PA. Do you want to come on? And I was like, absolutely. So I worked in the prop office for that job. And then I just, made sure I networked with the key PA. I still had his number. And after that full job was over, when I was working in the office, I just texted him, and I was able to get on like a couple jobs from that. which was great because I worked on this show that I worked on Broad City, and I was like, this was the show that like I I was like, when I watched that show, I'm like, the first season I was like, my goal is to work on this show, and like I worked on the last season, so that was like really serendipitous. My next goal is to work with Bill Murray. I think that's like my baseline right now.
That's what you wrote down?
I mean, I have like he's on my pillow.
He's so cool.
Yeah, well,
God.
when I was doing when I was doing some reshoots for The Last OG, the season 2, that's like a show with Tracy Morgan and all his comedian buddies. And I was working with a PA who had just worked with him on this movie called The Dead Don't Die, which I just watched recently, and it was hilarious if anybody's like into Bill Murray being Bill Murray, which is like the best Bill Murray you can get. But she worked on that, and I think they shot it in like somewhere upstate New York, and I was like, it's possible, you know? Like I know somebody that worked with Bill Murray, and like she was showing me like, he like invited her to his Christmas party, and she showed me like a video of them dancing, and then like he had like called her because she was the first team PA, so she was working directly like with the cast, and he like left her a voice message, and she like played it for me, and I was like, I want Bill Murray to leave me a voice message. Like
it can happen.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean,
you're out there working, and especially when you talk to people like, I'd love to meet him some point, they're gonna be like, oh
yeah. Yeah, and I, you know, just networking is so important. It's like, it's not only networking, but it's like proving that you know, not necessarily that you know what you're doing, but that you're willing to learn, and that you're interested, and you're like engaged, you know? You're not just like how I was explaining with the PAs that are like just starting, like they are enthusiastic, and I can see that they want to work. Like they're paying attention, which is so important. Like it took me a while to learn how to pay attention on set, because on the big sets that I'm on, it's like your attention is so divided. Like you got the walkie-talkie with people giving direction in your ear while you're having a conversation with a person face to face, and like leading an actor to set. Like there's so many things to juggle, and like, you know, it all comes from practicing, and the better you get at just doing one of those things, the more responsibilities you'll end up getting. Which is like, if you want to be at the top, you got to be able to do all of those things like without a hitch, you know? It's a lot, I know. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It all comes with time. It all comes with time. I've been doing this for like a little over 2 years now, and like that's it. That's all you need. Just 2 years of experience, and I'm getting like full-time job after job after job. Like the ball's rolling now.
Can you tell us some of these shows that you've worked
on? So my first staff job was with Pose, the show Pose. I did season 2. It's a Ryan Murphy show on FX. Season 2 is now on Netflix. And then I just was working on this new sci-fi Apple TV show that I can't give too much detail about. But that show lasted a year because of the shutdown. So I got hired in October of last year. We worked until March. The show is supposed to end in like May, June. But with the shutdown, we started back up at the end of September. So we were like one of the first shows in New York to come back and like try working on this thing. And just from like that short amount of time, because we wrapped up last Wednesday. So this short amount of time between when we started in September and when we just finished, like I had just like, I didn't lose. It was like riding a bike. You know, I was nervous to get back, like knowing that there are all these new protocols and lots of rules to follow, and, you know, just different stuff set up. And it just, yeah, like set was so much different. It just flowed in a different way. But at the same time, it was like the same exact thing. You know, you just get so used to it so quickly because it's the new normal. But
new processes.
Yeah, and like I didn't lose my mojo. Like I still had like all my skills just came right back. Even though I was nervous, like there's, it's embedded in me now that like I know what I'm doing. And we had a new key PA, and between like him and my second AD, like I just got like in the last month, I've gotten like 6 or 7 job offers because now new shows are starting up when mine had just finished. So I'm already on people's radars because I've been working, and like a lot of PAs have left New York. Like it's kind of hard to find like people now. Like we would have a day when we needed additional PAs, and now we have to bring them in a few days before so they can get tested. So they have to like commit to go get tested one day and then work whatever it is, like 2 days later when the results come in. And so I was trying to help my key out and messaging, these PAs that have impressed me in the past on past jobs. Like they're all saved in my phone in a special way. I made a video about it at some point, like if anybody has seen it. But I always put like PA for the company, and then if they're, good at something specific, I'll put that in there. So I'm like texting all these PAs that I know that I've worked on different shows with. And they're like, no, sorry, I moved to Atlanta. Or like, hey, I'm in Utah. I'm just waiting for a full time to come around, and then I'll move back to New York. Or like, a few people were already on jobs. But like a lot of people I was texting are out in New York. So there's like a lot of opportunities in New York now to like get. Oh my God. A cat just jumped onto the fridge. Yeah.
I can move around. So can you list the shows that you've worked on, and can you list the shows that you got called for?
I mean, I can pull up my job list. It's like, let's see, where am I? Let's see.
Pull it up because it's hard to remember, guys.
There's so many. So I worked on The Good Cop. That was my first show. That was when I was a prop PA. Broad City, High Maintenance. I did this indie film with Danny Glover, which was great, called The Drummer. Haven't seen it yet. I know it's released, but I don't know where. I worked on FBI Most Wanted, Madam Secretary, Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot I was on for like a month, and that was pretty cool. That was like right after Rami won the Oscars, so it was like, it's crazy. I worked on this show that they finalized the name of Little Voices, and it's on Apple TV right now. It's actually a really great and like adorable show. I worked on this show Betty that was on HBO. It was like about the skater girls. That was pretty cool. That was awesome because we just like, the days were in skate parks. Like the days that I worked were just like these huge days where it's like this huge girl gang of skaters, and they're like skating over the Brooklyn Bridge and like going to this park, like skate park, and just like throwing all the boys out of the way, and they're like all skating, and it was just an awesome day.
Experience in this business. Crazy.
Yeah.
So much.
And then last winter, I worked on the pilot for a show called Run the World, which got picked up, which is one of the jobs that I got asked to go on when my show finished. My show's code name was Ray James. I don't know what they're actually going to call it, but Ray James was like the code name. I don't think they decided on a name, so
Bring it out.
Yeah, I think that's still up in the air.
And right now you're on this show, and tell us the shows that you got called for.
So right now I'm technically on Succession, and since I got like staffed on it, these 2 weeks that I'm off for quarantine, like my job is secure. I talked to my bosses just to make sure that because what unfortunate timing. I got this call from my roommate on Saturday, and my job was supposed to start yesterday. And of course, they're not waiting for me. They started the job, but like they hired enough PAs that like they kept like praising me, like, you're doing the right thing. Like the cast and crew of Succession thanks you. And I was like, ugh, my heart. So there's a car alarm. I'm so sorry about the car alarm. City life. So I was finishing up this job, and the second AD on that was finishing a job in Montana it was a Kate Bosworth like independent film. He asked me if I wanted to go with him, and I had to say no because I already said yes to this Michael Che from SNL. He's doing a sketch comedy show. And like these are all I got recommended all by PAs that I'm already working with that have more experience than I do, and they know a lot more ADs than I do. So I get called for the Michael Che show. I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's like a 1-month job. It's a comedy show, which I could use after working on like the big show that I did. And so I said yes to that. And then like flooded in like 4 more jobs. I got called for this show. What's it called? Equalizer. It's a Queen Latifah show or something. I have no idea. But so I got called for that. My friend recommended me because I live in Jersey City and the job is filming in Jersey. I did not know that. Nobody told me that it was in Jersey. I found out after. So that came from like the key PA. And then what were the other ones? I can't remember all of them. I feel like
It's very hard to remember.
I was just like, oh, sorry, I can't. Like, because I had already said yes to the Michael Che show. So then I get a text from an AD that was like, hey, we got your number from so-and-so. We'd love to have you submit your resume for Succession. And like, I knew that Succession was starting to like hire up. And I was like, I'm kind of going to hold out for this job because that's such a big, incredible, like, it's an incredible show. If you guys haven't watched it, like, it's truly like, and so I got that text and I was like, oh, like, woo, like, this is the one I want. Like, and now I had to kind of backtrack and talk to the AD that like basically hired me on the Michael Che show. So I give him a call, and this is like these are such hard calls to make, but like at the same time, like you need to learn how to do these sorts of things. And the only way that you're going to learn how to do it is to be in that situation and find out the right words that work for you. So I talked to the AD from the Che show and was like, listen, like, I know we talked about a position for me on here, but I just want to be honest and transparent with you that I got asked to submit my resume for Succession. I don't have a formal interview yet. I don't expect you to hold the position for me, but I'm going to take my chances and I'm going to go for this show, for Succession. And he was like, I totally understand. He's like, if I was a PA, I would rather do Succession than my show. Like, that's a huge show. It's a great opportunity. You know, if you don't know by Friday, if you have an interview, just let me know. And I can hold a spot for you for a couple days, but I'm going to look for your replacement. And the problem with that was that 3 PAs from my job who were going to go to the Michael Che show also got asked to interview for Succession. So he was like, I'm just going to be curt with you because I've heard this 3 times already today. Like, you know, it's unfortunate. It kind of puts me in a jam. I thought I had my staff, but like now you guys are all going, but like, I understand why. And I'm like, that you don't need to, like, in my head, I'm like, you don't need to say that to me. Like, deal with your problems without putting them on me, you know? And like, a lot of what I've learned this past year is like, just can't take things personally. Like, it takes a long time to learn that lesson, and you're gonna go through like a lot of like grief in that way of like, this is my fault or I did something bad. But like, once you've done with it, it's the other person's problem, you know? Like, how they respond to it is their problem, you know? Like, me telling this guy that I had a better opportunity, once that leaves me, that's his reaction is totally on him, you know? And I'm just doing the next right thing for myself. Like, did I burn a bridge? Maybe. But if he understands, if he does what he says and he has that, like, I understand why you're making this move, then, you know.
I think it's all how that phone call is, you know. You didn't say, hey, I can't do your job now. I've got succession coming in, and that's going to be, more important to me. That's why we always use the words, and we let them make that decision, which you sort of did, but you said, I really want to do this. This succession contacted me. I would really love to submit my resume for it. Is there any way that I might be able to take this other job? And then you let them say yes. They're the ones that
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, totally. I wasn't, I was still super nervous for that phone call, because I knew it was,
Sure.
like, putting me and him in a weird position. But I just told him the facts. I told him, I was like, I don't have an interview. I'm going to submit my resume. That job starts on the 16th. I know you guys start on the 9th. I can work for a week if you don't have my replacement yet. And he was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not going to have you work for a week and then everybody get acclimated to you being there and then you leave, And so I was like, yeah, I'm really sorry that I put you in this position. I thank you for understanding. And, like, good luck,
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's good to put yourself in their position, because, like he said, and I think it's very valuable to have somebody like him he just, like, basically said what's going on for him. And you're like, well, maybe he shouldn't have said all that. But I think it's helpful, because then you understand, hey, I understand that you thought that you had this all. They thought that they had it all figured out.
Totally.
And now everybody's kind of like, hey, I have to leave now. Oh my God, being a department head, that is so frustrating.
Yeah.
Your blood pressure goes through the roof, because you're like, I thought I had a great team. I have this all figured out. I'm looking forward to this. And now I've got to start all over again and find people that are not going to be as good. Probably. That's what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
So,
and I did also, like, I can help you find a replacement if you need. I'd be happy to recommend people. He's like, no, I can find my own. Like, Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can say, when you say a replacement, it's like, I don't want a replacement.
True.
I want really good people, which I thought that I fucking had.
Yeah.
Just to put ourselves in their shoes, we have to. So,
Totally.
I want to use words like, hey, I know some really great production assistants that I've worked with recently that I think you'd really like to meet, and you could sell it a little bit more to calm the guy down. And then for sure, he's going to be like, oh man, she hooked me up. She helped me out. She handled that really well. And then he would definitely call you again. So, maybe take a little coaching here on that one.
Yeah.
Rooney. Because, for me, being a department head, I just had it happen to me last week. Where this one gal, she always does it to me, and I love her. She's so good, but she always does it to me. Meaning, she says, oh, Janet, I'm holding for your job, but I can't do it now. I'm like, what the fuck? You can't do it now. She's like, and it just I can show you the text. It's just like so frustrating. And what happened was, she got a bigger job with one of her regular directors that she wanted to take. So instead of asking me so that I can say, yes, take that other job, she just tells me, and it just drives me through the roof. So I said to her, well, then you've got to find somebody that's as good as you, please, because now you've only left me 3 days, and I'm pissed. I was pissed. I went to bed so mad, because she does this at 9:30 at night, 3 days before the job starts. I know you didn't do that, but just for her, you gave them like many weeks notice. But just remember this, just ask, and also put yourself in their shoes too, so that when you're talking to them, the tone of voice is totally like understand where you're at. And is there any way that, just remember that too, is there any way that, and then let them let you off the hook so that you can take the other job. And then I will be like, oh, that person, I like the way they roll. They're thinking about me. They're being responsible. Okay.
Yeah. I think tying in with that, and I know that I've felt this way for the first year or so, maybe 2 years that I've been working. So this is like just a new, like, the department heads, they're people too. Like when I first started out and they just seemed so high above me, that I'm just like, you are some sort of robot machine person. Like, you don't have like you're just in this different place as I am, and we're not going to see eye to eye because I will always be a subordinate. And just that mental switch that I've had recently of like, no, you're a person too. And what's more importantly is you've been in my position before. So you must understand what I'm going through. Like, if there's a job opportunity that's better to advance my career and is a better opportunity for me, like, I'm sure you've been in that position before. And then when I had to tell Succession about the my roommate being positive, like, I needed to hear validation of job security. Like, I needed to hear them say, no, you're not gonna.
Oh, that was weird.
So yeah, looks like somebody's unmuted.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna mute everybody, and then Stacy, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah. What was I saying?
Validation.
Oh yeah. So when I was talking to my bosses on my new job, they were like, "Look, we totally get it. Like, we were PAs too, and we know what that feels like because, like, we've been where you are." And what that was me being like, I know that I'm replaceable. Like, I know that PAs are, if something bad were to happen, like, a PA could be replaced, and that's like an unfortunate position that, like, I sometimes feel the weight of. But they just reassured me that that wasn't the case here. And I think an amazing thing that this, COVID, like, has done is to just kind of put it into perspective how human we are, I think that especially when you're in the industry for a long time and you're just like job after job after job without like taking time off, you kind of forget that you're a human. And I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but like, it's true. Like, that's a very, I don't know. It happens where I just like, I wasn't, and it happened to me too. I wasn't caring about how much I was sleeping or like taking care of myself in any sort of self-care way because I just was like a machine, and I wanted to keep working. I wanted to keep hustling, and there was like no off switch. But like, I've talked to some people in the industry about this, and like, we're humans still, and we need to take care of ourselves, and like, we need to be like open and honest and understanding and like able to help each other. Like, an example of that would be with wearing the masks all day, and like on my last job we couldn't drink water inside the building, we had to go outside. And for the first week I was swamped with work. I couldn't leave the set at any time because I was doing multiple jobs at once. And so by the end of the week I was so dehydrated that like I talked to the medic and I went home. I didn't feel well. I wasn't functioning at 100%, and that wasn't going to help the production, and that certainly wasn't going to help me. And in the past, I would have pushed through that. I would have pushed through that feeling and just finished it out because it was a Friday. But like, I was like, no, I don't feel good. I'm going to go home. Like, taking care of myself is more important than doing whatever I'm doing at work today. And I also, like, I took my birthday off this year, which is like, I've never done that before. Like, if I was working on a show, I would never have taken my birthday off. But I was talking to one of my bosses, and he was like, you should take the day off. And he said, like, during this COVID time, I've really realized that, like, we need to treat ourselves like humans. And, like, it's your birthday. You deserve to take the day off. Like, I approve it. If you get approval from the 3 other bosses, like, you're free to take the day off. And I did. And it was a Friday, and we had that Monday off too. So I had like an awesome like 5-day weekend.
It's
or about
a
4-day weekend.
When you realize that you can, if you work it out, you can have it all, and you can push the boundaries more than you think. You don't have to be like, oh yeah, job comes in, yes. And feeling like you have to take every single day and every single job. You can ask for things. You can ask for a day off when you need to audition. You should push the envelope a little bit because it's your life and you're in charge of your own life, your own career, your own happiness.
Yeah, and
Self-care.
I can't believe it took me this long to realize, and I think it's because I actually, like, in the past I had never really cared about myself, and during this COVID time, like, I really took some time to, like, work on my mental health and, like, work on my self-care. Like, that's what I did for 6 months, you know? And then it really started to, like, move into my work. Like, I know that, like, this COVID is, like, it's so tragic on the outside world, but, like, it's been, like, a lot of this time off has been, like, a true blessing for me and my life. It's, like, makes me emotional because I've done so much work, and, like, it really is showing, like, through my now work. Like, I feel like I'm just in a different, like, I'm on a new plane of, like, how I treat myself, how I treat people. It's been like, whoa, like, such a dream, you know?
This is so good that you're realizing this. So what she's talking about is self-love. She's worked on herself. She's worked on her mental state, her practices, how she thinks about herself. Self-love, I'm telling you, and that is good for your career. It's all tied together. When you're good at your job, and then you also have self-love, and you have boundaries, and you realize that you're good and that they should call you, and you're not just going to take everything and just keep working like a dog, you know. Not looking at this like from a victim standpoint. It's just that it's really more like self-love. You know, like I just remember when I started, I could totally relate with what you said, and it's really important what you just brought up, because I remember when I started, I was just like, any job that came in, I was on it. I would get it. I would respond back immediately, and I wouldn't even ask any questions. I'd be like, "Oh yes, I'm available," because I want to show them I'm so loyal. I'm so
hardworking.
So I'm an important person. It was like, you guys are the most. Yes. So, but that's not really sending the message that I care for myself and my time is valuable, and I'm a top person, and I should be acting like a top person too. It takes a while to understand that, I think. It takes a while to get there. First, you are so desperate, but just keep in mind, everybody here, that self-love, and when you're good at your job, then people want you even more, and they're willing to work around whatever it is that you need so that they can have you. They want to work with you. And they really do love that sense that you are caring. They love that sense of confidence, and that your life matters, and that you realize that, and you're making things
Bless
work.
you.
They love that.
And like, that brings up the point of, like, when you get into that, like, work after work after work, you get into that loop, and it's that hamster wheel. And then it's so hard to care about yourself because you're only learning how to cater to other people. Like, I've been in that position before, and I've, like, forgotten, like I said, like, I've forgotten how to take care of myself. And, like, going back to this, like, self-love and, like, self-respect, like, once you learn how to do that, it only comes out of you. And, like, that's how you're able to treat people the way that they deserve to be treated too. Because I know, like, I've gotten the trickle-down effect from ADs and, like, my bosses, where I don't feel like a person anymore because of the way that they're treating me. And, like, that's unfortunate. It's unfair, but it happens in this business. Like, there are some people who only know the old way of things, of, like, you know, how they were brought up, and they like to just, like, treat PAs, like, not well because that's how they were treated when they were PAs. And, like, I've learned through different jobs that, like, not all ADs are like that. Like, so many of them are so pleasant to work with, and I just, unfortunately, for my first job, like, worked with ADs that were not that way, and I thought that all ADs were going to be like that. That's why I was like, I don't know if I want to be an AD, because they just seem like nasty people. But now I've worked with, like, some really great and caring ADs, and, like, they have this really, like, a first AD runs the set. Like, they run the set. You know, they take what the DP is saying and what the director is saying, and, like, they're able to delegate that while also, like, oh man, I've seen, like, some great ADs do work, and it's just, like, incredible the way that their brain thinks, and I'm like, I can do that. Like, having people to look up to in the position that you want is just, like, it's incredible. Like especially with this shift in my mind and like like I used to be afraid to talk to my bosses. Like afraid, like truly afraid. And I would go into the office or like go to them on set and I'd be like, I'm sorry to bother you, but blah, 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 blah. And now I'm just like, hey, do you have a second to talk? Like, they're people too. And like, they have a hard job. So that's sometimes why they're a little stressed and frustrated because their job is really hard. And I get that now that I'm like, that I understand what's going on set. And I think just all this understanding, like, about work and about like humility and like being a person and like loving myself is just like it's able to just radiate out a lot more, and I have more compassion for other people and myself, and like I don't know, and I get that trickle down effect too, and sometimes like I have that urge to trickle it down on other people. And I'm just like, that's not the person I want to be. Like, I don't want to be nasty to other people. Like, because I have this, like, higher position and I could be a little, like, snooty. But, like, that's not going to get me very far. There's a difference between, like, confidence and cockiness. They're under the same umbrella, but it's really about how your confidence comes out. Because if you're arrogant about it and if you're not nice to people, like, you're not going to go far. You might go far, but you'll be working under people that are like that too. So, like, you will just snowball into this, like, miserable and, like, work with people who are stressed out all the time and yell and take out their anger on you instead of, like, when I'm, like, nice and soft and fluffy, you know, like, at work and I'm just, like, very compassionate and, like, loving to people. Like, I'll continue to work for good people. Like, you give out you give out what you want to attract. Like, I totally believe in, like, that law of attraction. So.
Beautifully said. So she's really developing what her identity is, the way that she wants to roll, the way that she sees herself, and that's affecting everything. How she does the job, how she speaks on the walkie, the decisions that she makes on set. Using the wrong pronoun.
They.
They.
Thank you.
The decision that, yeah, absolutely. The decision that they makes on set, everything. I can tell you from observing somebody that's really good at this, my boom operator, Tamara. She's a mom, she's got kids, she's got a life, she's got other, you know, she's got her friends, she's got a very, like, she loves her life. And she's created this very, just really exciting life. She's also an interior designer. And she knows her job. But when she does her job, she does it from, like, she is such a woman of the world. And it just, you can tell the way that she speaks, she's extremely confident. She's got a lot of stuff handled, and she loves her life, and she also loves herself. She doesn't take every job. She picks and chooses what she wants to do, and she sees if it works with her life.
Yeah.
But that's just very attractive. There's contrast her to other people that are just like trying to exist and trying to get jobs and trying to they don't take that time to love themselves, so they don't feel that they're important, and they give out that energy on set. Whatever you know, like a lower level, lower than other people. And I had to learn that too, because I felt like I was lower than other people. So when I met Tamara, I'm like, oh, I love the way that she holds herself. So I have learned to also love myself and hold myself that way too.
Yeah. But
that's what people are so attracted to on set. And that's what Stacy's talking about. She's seeing herself in a much bigger, broader, well-rounded way, the way that she wants to roll on set, and then attracting and noticing other ADs. It's not like, oh, they're nice to me. It's like, oh no, that's the way that I want to do that job too. This is a really great way to run the set, a great way to be. And I bet that person's life works too.
Yeah.
Like, I bet that person that's running such a great set, they have a great relationship. You know, things are working with their friends and with their family. So, yeah, we want the whole shebang here.
Yeah. And just, like, going back to what you were saying about Tamara was, like, I whenever I finish a job, I'm always like, I'm going to take some time off. Like, I'm going to take some time off. I'm not going to get on anything. Like, maybe I'll work on something for a few days and see what's like going on in the new year. And like both times that I've said that after a staff job, just something comes up that I cannot refuse. Like, yeah, like I'm not going to like, oh, I don't want to work until the new year, so I'm not going to work on Succession. Like, no, I'm going to like push through it and work on this job. But like, how serendipitous is it now that I can't go to work for 2 weeks? Because like I get the time off that I wanted and I had the job that I want. And like, if I didn't put that out into the universe, like that wouldn't, like, I just believe in that sort of, universal thing. Like, if I can get anything I want. Like, like, I don't know. Like, that sounds really spoiled and bratty, but like, I can, like it's, but it's because I put it out there,
Yeah. I remember when we started the COVID lockdown, you said to me, I'm going crazy. But then, you're like, I'm going to see if I can use this time. And you did. And yeah. I think that we all have, a lot of us started this program in the beginning of the COVID situation, have really used it.
Yeah, and I think it's like...
If you haven't, you haven't. It doesn't matter. Start now and go off and do what you need to do to get involved. Yeah.
It's like such a great time to like work on the things that you've kept putting off, Like, and I remember for the first couple months, it was just difficult because there was just this sense of shock and like fear of the unknown. And like now that we kind of understand what that unknown looks like and like we've able to come out and be out in the world a little bit more, like I know everybody's job situation is different right now and just work looks so different for everybody than what it looked like before, but at least like take some time to like respect yourself and your body and like just take care of yourself no matter what that looks like. Like if it makes you happy, like great. Like I've learned that the things that, make me happy are a lot of like self-reflection and time for myself and like just, talking with other people and being vulnerable, being like showing my soft and gushy parts, which I was not able to expose before. Because I was just so like hardened and I put a lot of walls up because I was just like, this is what strength looks like. Like, this is what, confidence looks like. It's just like, nothing can be wrong. I'm going to be this perfect person all the time. And like, that is not true at all. Like, progress, not perfection is like such an important thing that I've been like saying to myself a lot because I don't know everything. And like the more that I remain teachable, the better I will be at my job and the better I'll be to other people, because I used to have that mentality all the time of like, I'm right, you're wrong. No matter what you're saying, like I will find some way to get on top of this conversation. And like that was not getting me to any good place. And so the more that I remain teachable, like, and it, like acknowledge that I don't, what's that?
Any good place within yourself. I mean, you're not proud of that part, being like that.
No, and like,
it's not about getting somewhere in life. It's more like, that's not getting me to the person that I want to become.
Yeah. And, I think that like now having so many like mental shifts about just how I view the world and view myself and view other people, like, now I will get the things that I want. When before I was kind of just punching through it. Like I was doing really well, but like I don't think I was truly happy, until I've like taken this time to like, like like I go to therapy, I take medication now to manage my anxiety, and like I'm not embarrassed by that. Like that's something that I needed to do because I was not in a good place before, and I just like had this constant like buzzing energy, and like I couldn't figure out what it was. And I worked with some people and I figured out what it was. And also like I wasn't sleeping well. So now I'm on this like, I have like my night routine, and it's like a lot of self-care stuff. And like I take a sleeping aid which is just so fucking helpful. Sleep is so important. You know, I don't realize how I could do it before, when I would just like, I would come home from work, I'd still be like buzzing around from like being on set all day, and I'd get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep like every night for a week. Like crazy. Now if I like don't get 6 hours, I'm like grumpy. Which is still like a small amount of time, like compared to what you need, but it's like, you know, you get into that mind frame.
Yep. Very valuable what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to be embarrassed about like taking care of your mental health. Like that was so important for me to do over this, you know, COVID break that I've had, that like, you know, it's been like truly a gift.
Okay. Well, I think this is a great conversation for everybody to hear, because we're all like, you know, oh, I want to get somewhere, get somewhere. It's so funny that the path to getting somewhere, a big part of it, like the biggest part of it, is you taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And you loving yourself while you do it.
Yeah, and I think that
work will be there. There's so much work, you guys. The work is there. So you can dip your toe and jump into that stream at any time. They're lucky to have you. Especially when you love yourself, you become even more valuable to people, because you're not in your head so much. You're actually relating and listening and being with people and moving that production forward and making decisions from a clear mind, from being a person that is like, when you meet them on set, you're like, that's a great person. I love that person. I love the way they do the job. I love the way that they talk to everybody on set. And you become that person. When you meet the great people on set, like the AD that you're talking about, you become that person. You realize these qualities that people have, and you take on those qualities. So that's part of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's the cool part of it too, is that like if you remain teachable, like you'll always be able to like take a little bit of those people that you meet that impress you. And like I've used that so much like on set, where I'm just like, you know what, I know that so and so is really good at handling this, so I'm gonna like empower myself with thoughts of them, or like put myself in their mind frame. How would they solve this problem? You know, and you learn so much from other people when you're willing to learn, you know, and not just have that like, I know everything, or I'm gonna do it my way, or I was taught this by this person, and like that may not work. Like there's so many different outcomes to situations, and like being able to solve them in the correct way is such an important part of this kind of industry too, you know, because you want to get it right the first time, no matter how many questions it takes to ask. Like it's better to do a job right. It's better to ask questions and do the job right the first time than have to do it twice.
Right. Look at your comment. You have become wise.
These are my dimples.
You're so cute. By the way, so Rooney's path is assistant director. Assistant director requires a lot of days as a production assistant, because they've set it up that way. They believe that that's important. The DGA, in order to become an AD, requires, how many days is it?
So it's 600 days, but get this, I found out recently that if you are a minority, you can submit your book with 300 days. But I'm definitely a bit above 300. I was actually going to count my call sheets at some point this week and like call the DGA and get some more information. Although I have like a friend who like sent me a big thing about how to submit your book. But at 300 days, like there's no way I'm ready. Like I would not submit it, because there's still so many staff positions I haven't gone through. And like submitting it now, I think would just be a waste of my money. Because you have to start paying your literally paying your dues.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know that you can pay a minimal amount and just continue to make payments, but like it would just be a waste for me, because there's no way that I'm ready to bump up and do second days. because I'm not there yet. So although I think it's a nice that I can submit my book, I know people who wait until they have like 700 days because they just want to make sure that they're ready, because that's a big jump.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
The same in the UK. I don't think so.
yeah, I'm not
Very
sure, but
Guild of America. Yeah. So.
yeah, so whatever is equivalent to the DGA in the UK, which I'm sure you could look up, they have an office and you can give them a call and find out like what the specifications are. Because I'm still like, I don't know if things have changed since the person gave me info. So like, I have to call the DGA at some point. I've heard that the people that work in the office are very nice, but like submitting your book, like even typos get like marked. Like it has to be, it's like this very, very specific old way of like literally putting a book together with all the call sheets in it.
Yeah. Now that's DGA, but that's not other unions, guys.
True.
So
yes.
Every union's different. The camera union in New York is different than the camera union in Los Angeles. So just check with the union, see what they need, and then start.
What union is that in LA?
Local 600.
Oh, 600's in New York too.
Yes, however, it's different.
It's different.
There's different requirements to get into the union in New York City. It's a lot easier than it is in LA. And guys, I held off joining the union for like 10 years because I didn't want to start paying those dues. I didn't want to pay the $3,000, and I didn't want to start paying dues every single quarter. So, and I was getting the work, and I was like, oh, well, why should I join? And then it was coming to the point where you're going to get in trouble if you don't join.
Yeah.
So I go in there with like my tail between my legs. I'm like, yeah, here's all my because I 10 years ago I could have joined. And they were like, yeah, we've been noticing your name coming across. Yeah, we'll let you. They didn't really give me a hard time at all. They just want my money. They just want another person to join. So it was no big deal. They're like, well, sign here and do you swear, blah, blah, blah. And I got in. No problem. But I remember I was so nervous about it. I swear half the things that we were so nervous about, or almost probably 100% of the things we're so nervous about, turn out to be nothing.
Yeah. And I'm in that world too, because I'm like, I don't want to call the DGA because what if I'm not ready? But it's like, no, it's just a phone call. Like, I'm just trying to get information. Like, they field those calls all the time. And like, they have to understand the type of personality that productions assistants have. And just like literally from your first day to your 600th day, there's so much that you learn and grow. Like, even now I remember how I was in the beginning, and just, at like the halfway mark at 300 days, like just the level that I'm at is so different. And it's like everybody's path is going to be unique, and like your beginning point, your middle point, and your end point are going to be different for everybody. And that's like, you make your journey, and it's up to you how much you want to learn and grow, and like who you want to who that you've learned from, that your mentor is, that you want to emulate, and how you solve problems, and like all of those things. It's going to be unique for everybody. There's no one right answer. And I think that's like such a nice thing in this industry, is like there's so many right answers. It's kind of like the difference between like science and like literature, where like science is like concrete, like no, it must be this way, and then like in literature it's much more like free form, like it's open to interpretation. And like there's so much that you can do in collaboration with other people, and just like it's just a wonderful like big mush and mess of like these brilliant minds. And they're like, you start out brilliant because everybody's like amazing and unique, but you just end in this place that's like you're like enlightened.
I think you love the film industry.
No, I'm just here for the money. No,
one thing I was thinking about, and we'll end this call real soon. I know we're almost 2 hours. I was like, this is gonna be a short call, but it's
nothing is ever short with me.
Well, it's fascinating, and I the points that you bring up, I want everybody to think about and to hear all the little minutia points, you guys. So I mean, it's all just, it's so good, so valuable. Plus, we can visualize ourselves doing it when we hear the details from you. I was thinking as you were speaking, I'm like, so I wonder if the break was good because it causes us to reflect. so the break was good. And also notice, guys, whenever you hit adversity, it's like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And then you don't want it to ever happen, but that's when reflection happens, and that is when a breakthrough happens. So I would call this a breakthrough for her, for they. And at the same time, what was also brewing back there for Rooni. Oh my gosh, am I gonna see? Sorry, Rooni. What was also brewing back there for Rooni is that I'm gonna become an AD. So I'm thinking about the future. So I'm thinking about who I want to be really good at that job, and what kind of identity I need to have to become an AD. So that's also in the mix of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a push there to like have the confidence to like pick the one thing I want to do, which took me a really long time, because I love the arts. Like, I love art. I love crafting stuff, making stuff. Like, I thought I wanted to do props. But the more that I'm like paying attention to the prop department, which I have been for a while, the more I'm like, maybe this is just a hobby of mine. And maybe that's my hobby. Like, maybe my hobby is making art and creating art. And I think that will remain a hobby, but I don't think I want to do that professionally, because I think that's my hobby. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. And like, I don't want my hobby to be my full life. Like, I like the AD point and using that like logistical side of my brain, and then being able to come home and just like play around with things. Like, I think I need to be engaged in that sort of mental capacity that the ADs do. I look at them and I'm like, wow, like they do the most important job on set. The second AD makes the schedule for the whole day, and that other departments follow that schedule, And
I feel like there's a part of you that really feeds off and loves getting the stuff done.
Yeah.
You can still get that in the art department, but oh man, when you're running the set and it's like clockwork.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just very fulfilling. Like for me, I love the figuring it out and the technical part and what do we need to do next and making the little moves there. And then I love the social part. That really fulfills me. I love that. Every job has got different little elements of what it's like doing that job that fulfills that part of you. That's why you need to get exposed to a lot of different jobs on set. Just see what you like. I mean, maybe you love to tinker with little things on air department, but you got to do it quickly because you got to get things done. And you got to have that communication so you know what's coming up next and know what needs and adjust and listen to, maybe adjust the changes that are happening. I mean, every job has got different little elements to it. And you'll see what fits and what you love and what kind of life it gives you too. Because being a producer, you don't really leave that job until the job is over.
Yeah.
As an AD, it's a little bit more like that, but not quite as bad. It's not.
Well, you're on the job for forever in the beginning, and then once it's over, you're done.
Yeah. So producer and AD a lot. Producer the most. AD is really still you're working for the director and the producer, and you're doing your job and you're on it. Now for myself, the day is over. Okay, I think about what's happening next day, but my mind is free.
Yeah.
I'm not like, if they change things, okay, I'll adjust.
Even as a PA, like a good PA will like actually read the call sheet for the next day. Like when I get home, I have like a bit of homework to do. Because if I want to be prepared for the next day, like my last 2 jobs, I was the walkie PA, but like if I want to do really good at my job, like when the call sheet comes out at night, I'll take a look at it, and now it's all electronic, so it's like on my phone. But like I'll take a look at it and be like, okay, who is on tomorrow that isn't on today that I'm going to need to set up a walkie for? And like I had that mental, I was like, okay, and I'll talk to the department heads too. I'm like, hey, do you have a big day coming up? Like when will you need more walkies? And just creating that open line of communication. By the end of the job, the best boys were coming to me being like, hey, I need 4 extra radios tomorrow. Because they respect me and I've done a really good job at keeping that communication open, that like, they'll come to me and be like, hey, we have a huge day. I need 7 walkies. And I'm like, great. Thanks for letting me know. I'll have those ready for you in the morning. And like, it's preparing yourself to be successful for the next day. I think that's so important. Like, it's just as important as showing up, as preparing.
Yeah. No matter where you are, you can do that. And I can tell you this, that people find that very endearing when you actually take a look at that schedule or think about it a little bit. And
I mean, yeah, as a PA, if you want to impress your second AD, just look at the call sheet. That's what they worked on all day. Like, I've made mistakes and been like, oh, where is this? And I've had an AD be like, there, it's on the call sheet. Didn't you read it? And I was like, ugh. Like, but isn't it easier if you just tell me? But it's like, no, like, obviously they're going to take pride in the work that they just did. They just built that call sheet all day. Like, it takes all day. And so, like, once you learn how to read it and you're fluent with it, all the information is there. And if you know the information, you'll look good for your bosses, even in any department, because you already prepared, you know? That's the worksheet for the day. And, like, I know more and more indie stuff that, like, works on having a call sheet because it's important. Like, I've done some, you know, just weekend fun shoots that they had a call sheet, you know, because it's easier for them to be scheduled. Like, if they're taking their shoot seriously, even if it's on an indie level, like, you know, you can figure out what shots you're going to do what day. It's as simple as that, you know?
people got to know what's going on.
Yeah, especially if you have a team. Like, I've worked on indies that like super, super indie, not getting paid, you know, 10 people in the crew, but it's like we have one person in every department. So if we all can stick to the schedule and just look at that without having that be a question, like, that's easy. And, like, that's another good way to, like, offer help. If you know how to schedule, like, if you do that for your current job or something, like, if you're an assistant or something and you know how to make a schedule, like, that's a skill. See, you can find skills in everything.
I remember I was on a shoot up in Big Bear, and the producer walks by and sees a production assistant studying that schedule.
Yeah.
You could tell he's just sitting there studying it. And she's like, I'm gonna hire him for life because I love that he's studying the schedule versus just showing up, hey, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Not taking the job as seriously. They just love to see that you're taking that job seriously so that you can be helpful and bring, you know, even though this guy was like new.
Yeah.
That means a lot to them.
Yeah, and I think a lot from the PA position comes from, like, following directions. My one thing I learned also is, like, to not get so comfortable in just always expecting direction, but to, like, create a little bit of direction yourself. Like, if we're filming and people are being noisy while we're filming, like, somebody doesn't need to tell me to go ask those people to be quiet. If you can take that initiative and start solving problems without people having to tell you, that's huge. That's huge. That will get that one thing alone will get you far. Sure, like, if you don't really know how set runs, like, the first couple times, it's just good to be able to, like, have those delegated tasks solved by you. But once you can start doing that without somebody telling you, you're invaluable. Like, it's incredible. Small skills. Tell people to be quiet.
If you're like thinking, oh, there's just so much that I have to learn and I'm so far away right now and I haven't even been on any set so far. Well, what do you have to say to people that have that concern? Because I know that you get the right jobs that you need at the time and you just keep moving. You just keep growing. The film sets will teach you everything that there is to know, and you just have to have a great attitude and be open to it. So everybody learns that way. Everybody moves up in their knowledge and skills, and being able to multitask and handle it all and understand what's going on. I mean, there just really is no other way. So it's totally fine. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I think it's important to also, like, do what you know. Whatever you learn on one set, try and bring that to the next. And then learn something new. And, like, be curious and ask questions. Like, just start understanding when it's the appropriate time to do so. Like, don't go talk to the camera person while they're filming. Like, simple stuff like that. But there's always just like one thing you can learn. Like I still learn new things every day, you know? And it's because I remain curious and I want to know everything.
It's true, because you're going to find a lot of people on set that are that you're working with, they fall asleep. They're not paying attention. They're not actually sleeping, but they're not curious and learning.
They're not present.
And trying to grow. They're not present. So that's a lot of people that are like that, really, seriously. So you just hearing this right now gives you not only an edge, but just a direction, a way of approaching that job that makes you different. Because you can be there paying attention and having your mind turning and working just as easily. You're there anyway, so you might as well be there learning and watching. And I see they're setting up that second camera. Oh yeah, that's coming up. And you can be doing that just as easily as being zoning out and just going.
Another thing I like to pay attention to, which has been like not a recent thing for me, but something that I've been doing more frequently, is instead of waiting for somebody to tell me what the shot is, I will try and like look onto set and see where the cameras are setting up, so then I can get an idea. Or like when they're doing rehearsals, like, you know, I'm on these bigger sets, so we have like the second team of actors, which are like stand-in actors, so they, you know, will replicate what the actors are going to do on camera when we're actually recording. But like I'll pay attention to those rehearsals to be like, okay, so we're getting this from this angle, and you know, it's a close-up or a medium, you know, and you learn how the shots are composed. Like I've maybe worked in camera a few times, and like I understand what like the different shots are. If it's like a medium or a close-up or a 50-50 or a wide, like you learn what those are, and then you're able to relay that to other people who might not be able to get to camera so fast. I'll never say it on the radio because I always wait for like somebody who's higher than me to be like, okay, so I think this shot, like, and sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes it's just like, I think this shot is this. Let's see if it is, and I'll let you guys know if it's not. But you can also just pass that information like, oh, I think it's going to be this, but I haven't heard the official word. You know, I don't know. These are just things that I've been doing and working on.
Well, it's so smart because as an AD, they're handling a million details of all these different departments to put together and be ready to shoot. So you got to watch that so that you can actually understand. Oh yeah, and these guys might need to be in there, and these guys were just told that this is going to happen next, and are they on it? Are they doing it? You watch it. You see.
And watch it build, because it changes too. Like if the director changes their mind, you know, it will change. Like everything is, just because it's on the schedule doesn't mean you're going to follow the schedule exactly. Like you have to be ready to just do something out of the ordinary because the director decides that they want something different. There was a question in the chat though, Janet, that I thought was like a good, Serena asked, it's my first time getting on set, preparing, what should I be wearing as a PA? There's definitely some information on that in the modules. I don't know if they've changed. I don't know what modules they are in exactly now, but like module 4, thank you. It's always like comfortable shoes, 100%. Like wear your most comfiest shoes. I like to bring a change of socks because I feel like that's a game changer. Like a midday sock change, game changer. Do it and you'll figure out why. It's great. I usually wear like I've started to dress a little bit nicer on set now. Like I'll wear a shirt like this if we're inside. Just like I wear a button-down shirt and jeans because that's just my style. But just wear something that you're comfortable in, that you're going to be comfortable in for 12 hours without it being sweatpants. You know, you dress for the job that you want is something that I've always, you know, taken into account. But like I would go to set like this. I'm just wearing a button-down shirt and jeans and a white t-shirt underneath. Also dress appropriately if you're going to be outside. Like check the weather is another huge thing that people don't do. Check the weather. If it's going to be raining, wear your raincoat, bring your rain gear, like wear waterproof shoes, you know, and like pack that extra pair of socks. Like I've been doing this long enough that I now have like, I've got my winter gear. Like I know exactly what I'm going to wear when it's like 20 degrees, like, or if it's raining, like I have waterproof pants and a waterproof jacket, waterproof shoes. Like, you know, I've been able to work enough
Long underwear.
Pardon?
Long underwear.
Oh yeah, the whole nine. I have a heated vest. Like I have a vest with a battery pack that I can turn it on and it heats. Like,
good. I love that idea. That's a great idea. You guys remember, you're not used to being out there for 10, 12 hours a day. Don't be cold. I don't want to hear anybody say they're cold.
Yeah, and I've been a cold PA. You know,
and you weren't supposed to tell me that.
No, but it happens. Like sometimes I'm not prepared for how cold it is in New York because you're just used to walking around in New York. You're not used to just standing still in one place without moving around and getting that like body heat. But I think like another smart thing to do is to invest in those better products of things. I'm not trying to like brand drop here or anything, but like invest in like a nice, heavy, puffy winter jacket that's going to keep you warm, because then you'll feel better. You won't be cold. You won't be miserable. You won't be upset. Like, invest in that heated vest, because that keeps me so happy. I'm like nice and toasty, and it's got like a warmer in the back of my neck. Like, hand warmers for sure. Like, totally hand warmers, toe warmers. You can put the toe warmers on your body because they're sticky. Like, you'll find out these little tricks that work, but I think such an important thing that people forget to do is to check the weather.
Yeah, any shoes with good support.
Totally. Yeah, nothing flat.
Yeah.
At least for me.
And maybe change your shoes out at lunchtime too. I know people do that.
Yeah.
As well. All right, so guys, 8:00 tomorrow morning. You up for it? Yeah? Well, okay. You up for it?
I will. Okay. I'll go through the things that you sent me and.
Yes. It's going to be base, body of work, and brand, which is a framework that we work from. And we're going to ask Rooni for specific examples in each of these areas, and she'll just have a ton of them. So it'll be great.
Great.
Okay. So see you guys then. And great call. Thank you so much. Okay, bye everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh shit, I said something on top.
You did?
Yeah, shit. That means that I need Anna to